Well, greetings and salutations, and welcome once again to the Newsman Weekly Podcast, episode number 70. You guys will have to excuse me for a minute. I'm going to be gone for a half hour. Actually, I have to wait till Thursday, but Grandpa Joe's Candy Shop is coming to downtown Mansfield. This news just in. We heard about it over the weekend. As many of you know, we tape this podcast on Monday mornings, and I just hit post or publish or whatever the hell Newspack calls it these days. So the story is up on the website. You're hearing this on Tuesday morning, but know that news was actually published in Richland Source 24 hours before you actually could potentially be hearing this show. So Grandpa Joe's Candy Shop and its world famous $5 candy buffet. Go up there with a box, fill it up, and if you can get the lid closed, it's $5. I haven't been this excited since I actually saw the movie Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And it was Willy Wonka that actually inspired Grandpa Joe's Candy Shop, in case you didn't know that.
Is that a fact?
It is. It is a fact. The guy saw the movie. And Grandpa Joe was, if you remember the story, Grandpa Joe
He was our president, wasn't he?
No, that was Joe Biden, but thanks for being close. About the same age. Grandpa Joe was bedridden.
That's right.
And until Willie got the golden ticket, and suddenly Grandpa Joe, realizing here's my opportunity to spring into life and go get some candy, jumps out of bed, leaving the three other grandparents who inexplicably are all bedridden in the same bed. But Grandpa Joe jumps up, and they all go off to Wonka's Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. Now, this is in the Caldwell building downtown, right?
It is in the Caldwell and Bloor building downtown. I believe
you can fit a lot of candy in that building.
From what I read, let me go back and look at the story that I just posted moments ago.
How far away is that from here? Can we walk?
I don't know if you can walk to one block, but perhaps you can, Hayden. We're on 4th Street. They're on 3rd. They're just down right next to the Chamber of Commerce building, and we'll talk more about the Chamber.
Yeah, it's pushing
it's
close enough.
It's at 80 West 3rd Street in the historic building that Carl Ferniak and Carousel Properties purchased years ago and has spent a great deal of time and money and effort renovating, and now has their first tenant. 4,000 square feet of wall-to-wall candy, toys, ice cream, soda,
hot dog water.
Hot dog water, soda. I'm literally thinking that we need to move Richland Source, or at least this show, into Grandpa Joe's Candy Shop once it opens on Thursday. And it opens at 4:05 p.m. on Thursday. Not 4, not 3:58, not 4:02, 4:05 p.m. So you want to get down there for that. It's going to be delicious.
Dentists everywhere in Richland County are thrilled, man.
You know what? It's like an attorney once told me, he who arrests my client is a friend of mine.
Exactly.
If I'm a dentist, he who sells my client Hard Rock candy is also a friend of mine. Well, I digress. I just wanted to share that great news with you in case you hadn't heard it already or read it already on Richland Source. We are all about economic development today, and we're going to specifically be talking about two new entities that are aimed at making those efforts easier. In a little bit, we'll be joined by two guests who are going to talk about the Richland County Port Authority and the City of Mansfield Community Improvement Corporation. Ellen Heinz and Tom Vanderhorst from the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development will both be with us to help explain what those two groups actually do, so stay tuned for that discussion. In the meantime, let me say good morning to Zac Heiser, the show's executive producer, and Hayden Gray, our official videographer, who, if he doesn't insert at least one picture of Grandpa Joe's Candy Shop in my opening soliloquy, will not be our videographer.
Will be his last week.
It will be indeed. So there you have it, Hayden. Good morning, gentlemen. Welcome to a new fresh week of hell. Speaking of hell, how the hell was your weekend?
Top of the morning to you, Hunnell. Hayden, and my weekend was nice. I started it here at this building on Friday night.
You should start at the Source. I read that
I did.
Somewhere.
I started at the Source on Friday night with Newsroom After Hours, Halloween costume party. It was a great event. The smoke-filled basement cleared out by Monday. I came in early this morning to sweep up a few cigarette butts outside and take the trash out, and There's quite a bit to do down there still, but it's just the sign of a good party.
Zach, did I see we had the first ever newsroom after hours proposal as well?
We did. We did. After Young Legends show, a man took the mic and asked his girlfriend to marry him.
What did she say?
I think she said maybe.
Oh, man, that's a tough one.
She just kind of laughed and shrugged and.
Dude, you don't propose.
No, I think she said yes.
Yeah,
but
you don't propose in public unless you know what the answer is. That's that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's a great sign that they got engaged here at Richland Source.
Yeah, we'll start at the source.
Source.
There's a family starting at the source. How about that?
Yeah.
So what did you wear in the Halloween costume party?
So I was actually something we talk about, football. It's topical. I was a cemetery of dead Browns quarterbacks, and you're gonna get fined. Is that your phone?
Yes, but it's news related, so shut it.
Okay. Well, I'll talk about my costume.
Yes, talk about your costume.
Yeah. So I had 41 of the Browns quarterbacks since '99, and I had little faces of them all over my body, and I painted myself like a ghost.
You left like 10 of them off.
Jess wore a gravestone that said "Rest in Perpetual Rotations" or something.
Nice.
And that's what we were. The sad
part
Hayden
is
will post a picture too on YouTube.
The sad part is you've somehow roped your wife into this psychotic Browns fan efforts. Because was she a Browns fan before you got married? Yeah.
No.
Most people.
And now my daughter, on her own, wore a Browns dress on Sunday. She picked it out all, and I was like, I'm sorry, I did that to her.
But you know what? That's child abuse. But Hayden, what'd you do this weekend?
Friday night, I did not come to the Halloween party. I went to something that was equally terrifying if you were a fan of Marion Pleasant's high school football team, because I watched Shelby put up 55 points in the first half of a high school football game. But I did take my son to the first half of that game.
You know, I'd once watched Marion Pleasant win a state football title.
Yeah,
this is not a school that is bereft of football talent.
Yeah. But, my son, who turned 2 on Saturday, was with me Friday night. He's a big fan of football, so that at least provided a little bit more entertainment than the play on the field did, if you weren't Shelby, on Friday night. Saturday, we went to Wayne's, picked out some pumpkins.
Great move.
Did you take him in to do the various and sundry activities inside the barn?
He just liked the slide, not the big slide. The enclosed one. He just liked the open one, and just want to do that for like 20 minutes straight. But
you know what?
There was a lot of people going.
What you do there is, Dad, you sit on a hay bale, and you just watch.
But he can get himself up the stairs to go down.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Your job is to simply sit and watch.
Yeah,
and make sure that nothing untoward happens. Which certainly would not happen there. But, I did not do much this weekend. I worked yesterday, but I did watch my beloved Green Bay Packers, and we're going to talk about Packers-Steelers coming up this Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
I did watch my beloved Packers stink on ice the entire day at Arizona until the very end when they scored and won the game 27-23.
Win's a win.
That's it. And they're now 4-1-1, the second best record in the NFC behind Tampa Bay, who I think Tampa Bay plays tonight.
They do. They play Detroit.
And if Detroit beats Tampa Bay, Green Bay has the best record in the National Football Conference at that point. So, but it was a very wonderful game. It started at 4 o'clock. I got done cursing loudly, roughly about 7:15 or so.
Just in time to get ready for bed.
Yeah, well, no, just in time to get ready to go back to work at that point. But I see the Browns stumbled around and won a damn
They
football.
won. They're not the worst team in football.
Woohoo! Yay! We're not number.
It was so
32.
ugly. They had one drive where it was just they were like they were no team was playing well. The Dolphins just pretty much the Browns drove down the field because of Dolphins penalties.
Yeah.
It was like roughing the passer, illegal touching. Like it was just,
I
whatever. We'll take it.
I did see some of the highlights, and I got to tell you, beating Mike McDaniel at this point is kind of like beating up on a 6-year-old. I feel so bad for that. He's standing in Cleveland yesterday. It's raining.
Right.
So he's wearing
Got
his
his hoodie up.
He's got his hoodie
So
up.
pathetic.
Teardrops on his
He just
his
looks so
glasses.
miserable.
It's like beating up on our old friend Grant Ritchie.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And you know what? There's something to be said for that. Richie, if you're listening,
which we know you do.
Mike McDaniel needs a phone call and needs a hug. So now that you're no longer the videographer, you probably have some time on your hands. But the Steelers, I saw, this was it Thursday night?
Yes.
Lost to Joe Flacco. Joe Flacco. 850-year-old Joe Flacco, who's actually 1 year younger than Aaron Rodgers.
Yes, we did. It was especially rough because we do have, Zach's a Browns fan, but we do have some Bengals fan here at work. We've got Larry, we've got Taylor, and then allegedly Brittany, who I learned for the first time in 3 years, A, is a Bengals fan, and B, watches football, decided to get in on on the shit talk.
Oh, yeah. Well, you can't say that.
I can say that. I can say that.
Yeah,
but I don't, I didn't appreciate that. Some people coming out of the woodworks for one game when we lost.
All I know is I quickly had to get into meme generation to
you did
to share my thoughts as I often do. But we have a big game coming up Sunday night. Packers at Steelers, two of the most storied franchises in the history of the National Football League. And I believe a wager is in order.
That's right.
So I will offer it. Hayden, if the Steelers somehow at home beat the Packers, I will wear, provided you bring it because I don't own one, I will wear a Steelers jersey during next week's podcast. If the Packers beat the Steelers, I will bring one of my Brett Favre jerseys. I have two, green and white. You pick out the one you want. I will bring both. Perhaps you can wear both.
And a cheese head?
And a cheese head.
We won up at this. Remember, I put the terrible towel on.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah. And I will wave the terrible towel, and you will at least, you don't have to wear it the whole show because it's kind of bulky and uncomfortable. But you at least have to don and share the cheese head that I have in my closet.
I think the only thing I was tempted to try and add that you had to drink a pumpkin spice latte as well, but
no,
we'll just settle with what we have.
You know what? I don't have that much faith.
Maybe if Green Bay was playing at home.
Yeah.
Okay, fair. We still have our deal in place then.
All right, so there you go.
It's a deal.
I'm excited.
Folks, tune in a week from now, and you'll see some epic moments on the Newsman Weekly.
And speaking of, while we're on sports, just for a second, I do want to acknowledge maybe the greatest performance in all of sports ever on Friday night.
No, because we're not going to talk about it.
No, we're going to talk about it. Shohei Ohtani is the modern-day Babe Ruth.
Blah,
he
blah,
had
blah,
10
blah.
strike, blah, blah.
I don't care.
That's so historic. What do you mean
Yay
you
for
don't
Shohei
care?
Ohtani. Yay for the Los
You know
Angeles
how hard
Dodgers.
that is to
Yay
do?
for a $400 million payroll.
I know. I hate the Dodgers too, but do you know how hard that is to do?
Well, I'm all admiration for Shohei Ohtani, but my admiration for his individual performance cannot nearly overcome my hatred for what Major League Baseball has become in this non-salary cap league. It is not you know what? I don't care
that much just because the Cardinals had a bad season.
No, I know. Everybody else plays for second place.
Yeah.
You know, you got Seattle, and you got who are they playing in the
Toronto?
Seattle and Toronto. God bless them. Game 7. All that's going to decide is who gets to lose to the Dodgers.
I know, but baseball's got a villain. For years, it was the Yankees, and this is nothing new. That there's a big bad team
it is
that
new.
spends
it is
more.
New. The spending disparity.
It's out of control
it
for
is.
sure, but it was out of control 20 years ago too.
Not like it is now. And here's what's great. Here's what's great that's going to happen. The contract, the Major League Baseball players' contract with Major League Baseball is up at the end of 2026. The Dodgers are going to win another World Series. They're 9-1 so far in the postseason. They'll be lucky if they don't. The other team, either Seattle or
Toronto.
Toronto. Thank you. You can never remember Toronto. They'll be lucky if they don't get swept because the Dodgers probably have 4 starting pitchers better than anybody either of those teams has. And the owners are going to realize, you know what, the other 30, however many other owners there are, they're going to say, you know, we're just not going to play for second all the time. So there's going to be a salary cap of some sort
and
in
the players
baseball.
are going to say, no, there's not.
So the players are going to get locked out, and there won't be a baseball season in 2027 for at least several months.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But you're not going to take away my love of baseball this morning.
No, I'm not taking away your love of baseball. I'm taking away my own love for the sport of Major League Baseball at the highest level. because it's become a travesty.
They could be better.
Yes, well, it could be a lot better.
To say the least.
Yeah, thank
but
you very
hey,
much.
baseball has been through a lot in this country, as you know.
We survived the 1919, Black Sox scandal,
and the
but
steroid era, and the raising of the mound, and
this is, you know what? I just
in the 80s when everybody was doing coke.
Yeah, this is bad. All right, we got to move on because we do have a time limit. So let's talk about this, folks. We couldn't do one episode of the Newsman Weekly, much less 70, without all of you. So thanks again to everybody for joining us today for your weekly recharge of news, sports, apparently, information, and faux entertainment. We're grateful and somewhat dumbfounded that so many of you come to us every week. We know we couldn't do the show without your support, which makes us eternally grateful. Many thanks to local country singer Luke Watson for creating this show's theme song, Smoke and Drink, which, as I ponder the World Series, I'm likely to do. Our thanks also to the great folks at Relax It's Just Coffee for sponsoring this show and being such a great partner to the Newsman Weekly. Every day just starts better with great coffee, and our friend Paul Kimmerling and his baristas at Relax simply have the best in town at 105 North Main Street in downtown Mansfield.
And they have pumpkin spice
Especially
lattes,
the pumpkin spice latte.
which you would say is not coffee, so I just wanted to throw that in there.
Baba. That's all you need. All right. Before we dive into the world of port authorities and CICs, let's talk about some local news. Park National Bank announced Tuesday last week it was withdrawing its proposal to develop a new downtown office on Mansfield's municipal parking lot. If you listen to this show, you know we spent an inordinate amount of time explaining this proposal last week, and now it's over. Residents who opposed it have been heard. Chris Heiner, the Park National's Mansfield Regional President, said, quote, "The decision comes after thoughtful consideration of feedback from Mansfield's small business community and residents, particularly regarding the importance of preserving existing parking in the downtown area." He went on to say our proposal was made with a sincere intent to invest in Mansfield's future and contribute to the vitality of our downtown. He said regarding the plan for the 1.4-acre lot at the corner of 4th and Main Streets. Park National emailed its decision late Tuesday afternoon, just a couple hours after downtown merchants, employees, and residents staged a protest or rally against the plan that was announced October 6th. The original proposal included the donation of Park's current downtown office building, which it said was valued at $1.28 million, to the Mansfield CIC, the $175,000 purchase of parcels at 4th and Main for new construction, roughly half the lot, and the $130,000 donation to support the development of additional parking in the Carousel District. Mayor Jody Perry said, quote, "I have acknowledged publicly my blind spots on how this rolled out and can understand the immediate concern. However, in the rush to stop this, I feel there are many positive impacts being overlooked and opportunities to move downtown ahead by crafting a better plan that works for all. I built my whole career around finding common ground," the mayor said, "with different people, and I'm approaching this no differently." So parking remains safe in the Mansfield Municipal parking lot.
What a whirlwind.
It was a busy several days about that.
Yeah, that was wild. And in which, you're going to talk a little bit about dialogue, but it leaves some room for improvement. People just this is a case, I think, where it just the dialogue and the commentary just got inflamed beyond like, oh, let's have a discussion about the positives and the negatives.
Yep. Speaking of protests, there were lots of no kings protests around the county on Saturday. Country, sorry. I had it right the first time.
Yeah.
See, I don't trust my own
And
writing.
county.
Including Richland, Ashland, and Knox counties. People opposed to the policies of President Donald Trump were out in force, including several hundred along Park Avenue West in Mansfield and near Black Fork Commons in Shelby. There were some folks in favor of Trump as well. We also had those opposed who gathered in Ashland's Corner Park, as well as Public Square in Mount Vernon. Kudos to reporter Katie Ellington-Sorrow, who covered all three rallies in Richland and Ashland counties, and Jack Slamenda down in Knox. From everything I saw, all of the protests were peaceful, lots of chanting, singing, colorful signs on both sides. But I said this to somebody last week. My concern about the tenor of political discourse in this country these days. In the old days, and I hate to say that, but in the old days, If you disagreed with somebody politically, you would say, you know what, I disagree with your opinion, but I respect your right to have it. Let's keep talking. Over the years, it became more, I disagree with your opinion. Please be quiet. I only want to talk to people I agree with. Today, it's, I disagree with your opinion. You're an idiot. Shut the hell up. And folks, we can't get anything done as a country, politically or governmentally, if that's going to be the immediate reaction.
Yeah, and I think it obviously politics just like fans the flames to this type of discourse, but it happens everywhere, right? It happens like online about everything. But the lesson to me is like social media is not real life. You're not going to change anyone's mind. It's for jokes and memes and comments, and maybe every once in a while you can have a discussion or a debate. But like if you're looking to comment sections for any sort of hope, like forget it. Like just people got to see face to face more and stop taking like comments online so seriously is my take.
All right. Speaking of politics, election day is coming up, guys. Lots of city and village officials are going to be chosen, township trustees, school board members. We hosted candidate conversations last Wednesday night. We had candidates for Mansfield City Council and the Mansfield City Schools Board of Education. If you missed that evening, go to our website. We've got videos. Go to our YouTube channel. We have videos up there through our friends at DRM Production. We've been running stories every day on different election decisions to be made on the November 4th ballot, including a ton of local tax issues. Go to the website, get educated between now and Election Day, and then, damn it, vote.
And please read our stories because Carl made us work very hard to write them.
Be a part of your own local democracy. I mean, I know there's a lot of keyboard warriors, and I love to say this, and I see people picking up on it, but sitting in their parents' basement, in their underwear, eating Cheetos, tapping out on Facebook. You know what? That's fine. Do that. But every once in a while, put on your big boy pants.
And go do something real.
Vote. Cast a vote.
Let's get real.
There's nothing wrong with being a keyboard whatever. Like, I mean, but if you think this is actually making impact or you're actually doing anything by sharing a meme or, voicing your opinion in the comment section online, like, you're really not. Like,
you have to be a part of the effort to improve yourselves, prove your country, prove your community. A lot of important stuff's going to be decided on November 4th, so get out there and be a part of it.
Well, dare I say even go a little bit farther, too. And you know what? After you vote, be an active participant. Several of the candidates for different races, whether it's as big as a council or a township trustee, talk about how nobody comes to their meetings. So even after you vote, be active, participate.
All right, that's enough for now. We got to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be joined by Ellen Heinz and Tom Vanderhorst from the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. Please stay with us. Well, welcome back to the Newsman Weekly podcast. Joining us now, as promised, are Ellen Heinz and Tom Vanderhorst from the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. Good morning to both of you, and thanks for making the short walk from your office to ours.
Good morning.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
And for those who do not know, Ellen is the president and CEO of the Chamber, and Tom is, and I looked at the website because I wanted to see what Tom's actual title was, but they're going to have to expand on this a little bit because it says he's a financial specialist. So we might, as we talk, get a little bit more detail on that because every time I see Ellen, I see Tom, so I suspect his financial specialist role, it could be a bit more complicated. But so let's start with that, though. Each of you take a couple of minutes and introduce yourselves to our listeners. There may be people out there who listen to the podcast who aren't familiar with Ellen and Tom. So Ellen, go ahead, start with you.
Good morning, and thanks so much for the opportunity to be here. As Carl mentioned, I'm the CEO and president of the Richland Area Chamber and Economic Development. My career has spanned the last 27 or so years, split almost equally into thirds in economic and community development, also in workforce and education, and in the private sector and HR leadership roles. Joined the team in March of 2024, and I'm glad to be here. I worked in the community many years ago, left about just close to 18 years ago. And when Mayor Jody was elected, someone from the search committee reached out, and I had the great opportunity to come back and serve our area. So prior to that, most immediately, I worked for the Department of Commerce and covered community grants for communities all across Ohio and Indiana.
Very good. Tom, what about you?
So, good morning. My name's Tom Vanderhorst. So, I've been with the Chamber since March of this year. I retired from the city of Hamilton in January of 2024, kind of took a year off. So, I've been with, like I was saying, the city of Springfield, city of Savannah, Georgia, city of Loveland, and city of Hamilton. I taught at Wright State University for the Master's of Public Administration program, and after taking about a year off, I kind of realized that I was getting bored. Ellen contacted me. Some of our folks came up and visited your community. It seemed like fun. I mean, it seemed like something that I'd done in Springfield and Hamilton, and it looked like a great opportunity to take advantage of the assets that Richland County has. Basically, I mean, affordability, your downtown Mansfield buildings, like this building's awesome. I love coming in here. So stuff like that we could really help the community and be catalytic with the development and redevelopment of the area.
Yep. And Tom's role is finance specialist, not financial specialist, and he is focused at helping the community identify different public finance and resources to help businesses stay here, grow here, and new businesses attracting them to the area. So he's had a wealth of experience.
Yeah, because right before we went on the air, Tom and I were talking, and we both were in Springfield around the same time. I was leaving Springfield as Tom got there, but I also kind of grew up about an hour south of Savannah, lived in the town of Brunswick.
Yeah,
so,
been there. Brunswick's too.
Yeah.
I've been there. Yep.
Brunswick is a remarkable community. The thing I always remember most about Brunswick, Georgia, is it's the home of a pulp mill. And if you've ever smelled a pulp mill, that smell will never leave you.
That's
I've
a
never
fact.
smelled one.
Yeah,
Have you smelled one?
No.
I have not either.
Yeah, I'm told it's still around, but I remember when we moved there when I was a kid, and I got out of the car. I said, "What is that?" And so it's the pulp mill. I said, "Okay." Then I realized it never really stops. You just get used to it, but that smell is just always there. I mean,
I'm getting ready to go down to St. Simon's Island here in about a month, and
Right.
I know exactly the smell you're talking about.
it's definitely still there. I mean, it just
That's funny.
and it was a wonderful employer there in town, but it just created. I just watched a documentary over the weekend about the disaster at Chernobyl, and the radiation that erupted when that nuclear reactor blew up. And I'm sitting there, some guy said, "Well, it was the smell that got me first, this metallic smell." And I thought, well, maybe all those years ago in Brunswick, I was actually being radiated. And
That
didn't
explains
know
a lot.
Yeah, it certainly does. All right, enough tomfoolery. Let's get down to business here. People know this show, and we're all about business. Yeah. So let's start with the Richland County Port Authority, and let's pretend, you guys, that this is Port Authority for dummies. And given the intelligence level of the guys on this Newsman Weekly crew, that's not really pretend. And I'll start with the two questions I see most on social media. What in the world is a port authority, and where exactly is the port in Richland County?
Which body of water
That's
is the port?
Yes.
Which one do you want it to be?
The reservoir, maybe?
Pick one. But I mean, those are the things. When people hear the word port authority, they think port. Obviously, there's a lot of port authorities in Ohio now, many of which are completely landlocked, like we kind of are. So what is the port authority, and how does it work?
Well, a port authority, or the port, could be a port of entry, and thankfully we do have an airport here. We don't need to have a body of water, but it's really a finance authority and a special governmental subdivision that can be a great tool to, again, area businesses, existing ones that want to expand into new businesses as well. And we're evaluating what other communities were doing and wanted to make sure Richland County was as competitive as we could be for not only the community but the citizens, and help stimulate the economy further. And identified Medina, Portage County, a number of them had port authorities, and started looking into it, and it seemed to be a great fit. There are over 60 in Ohio. So our new one that was created this year, I think it was the 65th or 66th. And we're excited. We've had projects, and I can let Tom talk a little bit more about the public finance and the finance aspect of it.
Yeah, so really the Port Authority is a political subdivision. So it was created by the county. The jurisdiction would be the same jurisdiction as the entity that created it, so it's countywide. So I think the ORC section is like 4582. And there used to be a requirement for there to be a port like Cleveland or Toledo,
Right.
but that's not required anymore. That was changed later, and it's an economic development tool. It allows for some really cool tools to develop and redevelop properties. So I mean that's why we brought it to Richland County. When Ellen brought me in and we started talking about the competitive advantages and disadvantages of the community, that was it. If you have over 60 of these statewide, and there's 88 counties, we were sort of in the minority of not being able to have that tool to help businesses want to locate here or expand here, more importantly, because I think having all of our projects been expansion so far.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've covered a few of the meetings so far, and I know, and it's always interesting to me. I've had Richland County Commissioner Tony Bureau on the show, and I've argued with him as someone who's covered government in this state for more than 40 years that this is kind of squishy because I'm still trying to wrap my hands and arms around it. But one of the things the Port Authority can do, and I think you guys have already done it in a couple of instances, and you maybe can explain this far better than I can. If you have a company that wants to build a new building or maybe expand an existing building, one of the things they can do is work out a deal through the Port Authority where there are some bonds issued and they can end up buying equipment and tools and things needed for the expansion and not pay sales tax, which is a benefit to them, obviously, but then they also pay a fee to the Port Authority, not nearly as much as the tax break they're getting. But kind of talk us through one of the deals that you guys have done. I'll let you decide which one, but so we can see the economic benefit and how it works.
Which one you want to cover?
Whichever.
All right.
Whichever one you want.
So right now there's a 465,000 square foot building that's being built over in Ontario at the former GM site. That's the expansion of the CNG facility. So what's nice about the port is, as you were saying, they can get about a $50,000 tax break per $1 million of taxable material that they buy. So when you're doing a $20 million expansion, that ends up being a substantial number. So that's one of the deals that we've worked. I think what it does is it makes Richland County competitive with other communities that offer that incentive and then can, in some cases, get a higher rent rate too. So I think that's what we're trying to do is level the playing field. What other questions did you have about it?
Well, and I just want to add too, companies can use port authorities for their projects. It doesn't matter where they're located. You could have a company in Ashland County use a port authority out of Cincinnati, out of Franklin County. So in creating our own port authority, there are businesses who've used port authorities in the past, but we would actually allow, or companies would ask another port authority from another community to come in. And let's say if the sales tax exemption, they're requesting 100%, they get 75%. And that 25% would go back to whatever port authority would come into our area, do the project, and then they would leave. So that money would go with them. So what we're really doing is protecting the Richland County community resources. And that way, if any of the projects are done here, if they do get a sales tax exemption and they qualify it and it's approved by the board, then that money will come back to the community. And that 25%, can come back to be a match for another grant. It can help eliminate blight and distress in the community. We're pretty new in the Port Authority arena right now, but as soon as we start to build on that, that will be definitely something where we can reinvest into community projects to help the citizens in the area.
Yeah, the deal or the expansion that you're talking about in Ontario, I believe they had actually been talking to a port authority in Hancock County, and that, just as you said, that would have been money that would have gone to the port up in Findlay rather than staying here in Richland County.
Yep, exactly. So I want to have a huge thanks and kudos to the Richland County Commissioners
Right.
when we were evaluating, again, different resources and how to make the area more competitive and to stimulate some additional growth. They were very responsive and took it very seriously. And if we weren't able to put in the Port Authority in place in the manner of time that we would have missed out on at least 2 projects. So we're constantly looking for additional projects in the community, anything between $5 to $6 million, either in larger equipment or in an expansion or a new build project. That's definitely something we like to see. So we definitely encourage anybody who's listening today, if they know of for their business or they've heard of another business that might qualify for a project to the Port Authority, to please reach out to us because, it's a great resource for the whole area.
And Carl, I think one of the other important things to point out is when the sales tax exemption happens in Richland County at the Richland County Port Authority, that money stays local. If those purchases were to happen, not all of those purchases would have actually taken place in Richland County.
Right.
So I like the idea that ends up being more catalytic for the community. In Richland County, you're not going to buy all your. For example, I can't imagine you're going to place all of your material for all of those buildings all inside Richland County. You're probably going to get a Cuyahoga County and other places that have a higher sales tax rate than Richland County does. So I think that there's a lot of benefits for doing that, and then that fee stays locally, and it offers us the opportunity to do things that we probably wouldn't be able to do otherwise.
Hayden, did you have?
No, you basically touched on
Okay.
it, Carl, because I was going to say, I had the opportunity to cover most of the meetings and throughout the process when this was formed, and that was one of the biggest things I was going to touch on because I can recall, you brought up Commissioner Vero, Carl, and he was very forthcoming about the fact that, they kind of, have been behind on this, that there have been projects where, our businesses here that have expanded or undergone these projects used other port authorities. So now that was kind of the point I was going to touch on, just that fee gets to stay here.
Well, and another point is, we have some projects that are in the pipeline for development here, and I could say without exception, the larger projects, every one of them has said, do you have a local port authority? I saw that you didn't before. I'm glad that you created one. And they all want to take advantage of it, every single one of them, because, the development game's tough, and this just helps close that capital stack. 5% may not sound like much, but $50,000 per million spent, it ends up being real money that can maybe offset some other unforeseen contingencies that happen on these projects.
Now, there was another project that I think you guys approved at your most recent meeting, and I think it was a different kind of deal. I believe it was with Avita.
Yeah.
Over a project that they've been doing to expand, I think it's cancer research.
Radiation treatment.
Yeah, radiation treatment. But talk a little bit about, explain, because that was a different deal. That was not a sales tax issue. That was something else. What was that deal?
You want to go over that one, Ellen?
Well,
that was just for them to get tax-exempt financing so that, again, those rates end up being a little bit lower. I think the big picture is it was a cheaper financing option because it was tax exempt through the port. For me, this is all about benefits to the community. And when Avita's telling you that they can bring treatment here that you would have to otherwise drive to the James. In fact, I don't even think the James had that piece of equipment, if I remember right. It brings things to the community that helps Richland County be a better place to live. So it just makes economic development more affordable, I think, is the big takeaway that your listeners should be hearing from us.
And we do have other partners that provide treatments in the area, but I think the exciting piece about Avita's equipment is I think they're one of only 3 in the United States right now. So it's very, very specialized, state-of-the-art equipment, and again, that's something that we can provide that support to any of our partners in the area.
Well, one thing I think we can all agree on is that we've got to come up with a different name. There's got to be something, we've got to call it something other than Port Authority because people will never understand exactly what that means. So if you've got an idea out there for what we can better call the Port Authority, please let us know. We'll submit it to the state legislature and try to get this changed. But,
well, to your point, though, I think that's a great point. Franklin County has their finance authority.
Yeah, a lot of them call it finance
authority. But when it comes to developers, a lot of the developers only know it as a port authority. So as Tom mentioned, we had an attraction project just within the last couple of months, and when we told them we didn't have a Port Authority, but we're putting one in place, that was really a game changer for them to take a second look at the community. So it's one thing if maybe there are one or two in the state, but it's another when you're looking at the return on investment for them. When you can get market rate and higher in returns, if you create housing or you create some other project, this really can help close a gap for our area.
This is something not only for business expansion, but port authorities can be helpful in terms of what I think you just said, residential development, housing development, apartment complexes, things like that. And we all know that Mansfield/Richland County is in need of additional housing. So without giving anything away, or is that something kind of in the pipeline or down the road for the Port Authority?
It's definitely, a resource and a tool that we have. We don't have any projects coming before the board at this time, but certainly, again, as we're talking about it today and even getting that word out, anyone that has a project in mind or might know of one, we're happy to take a look at it. We know that this is the best county in Ohio, right? Out of 88, Richland County is the best. And we're doing everything we can to stimulate additional activity in our economy, and certainly would hope and would love to see that. We have a lot of interest right now in the area, from commercial to residential to even some manufacturing interest. So just continuing to, again, make sure we have all the tools in the toolkit and make sure our blades are sharpened so that we can be as competitive as possible. We know it's a great community to live in. We live here. We love it. There's a great cost of living, centrally located, one of the most affordable markets in Ohio. But we need to also make sure we're as competitive as we can be to get to land those deals.
And dadgummit, we're soon going to have a Grandpa Joe's candy shop. We talked about that earlier in the show, and I think that will be a huge attraction. I will want to build an apartment complex where my residents can have access to the $5 candy buffet. I'll just throw that out there. All right, going to switch gears a little bit. Ellen, you are also a board member on the new City of Mansfield Community Improvement Corporation. Now, these are not new things to Richland County. Shelby, for example, has had one for years. A lot of that community's success with the Blackport Commons project is partly, at least partly, if not mainly, the work of its CIC. What is a CIC exactly? What can it do for the city of Mansfield? And how does a CIC ever work in conjunction with the Port Authority?
Yes, it absolutely can work in conjunction with the Port Authority. In fact, when we look at stacking those economic development tools, the CIC is a very important piece of that. It's a 501c3, so it does have definitely different priorities and different ways that it can help catalyze projects. And actually, Tom has had extensive backgrounds with CICs with his work in Hamilton and the other communities. Tom, do you want to share anything about how
Sure.
CICs are different from Port Authorities?
Sure. I'm just kind of rehashing what Carl said about a new name for a Port Authority. I sort of like the Port Authority name, because whenever you say finance agency, people run for the exits. They say Port Authority, they're at least interested enough to ask you a question. So I was the treasurer of the Hamilton CIC when I worked for the city of Hamilton. And the CIC and the Port Authority absolutely can work in conjunction with each other. The CICs, I think what they do is they help governments do things that governments can't traditionally do very well, like act quickly, because there's always a legislative process to go through, whether it's property acquisition and disposal, whether it's there's some things they can't do just from a fiduciary responsibility, like putting money into a private capital stack. So I remember at the City of Hamilton CIC, and finance is really cool. I mean, I just hope your listeners know that. That's why I got involved with it, even though everybody runs when I try to tell them that.
You're talking to a room full of journalists who don't know math.
Yeah.
So when you say it's
Let them cook. Let them cook.
No, I learned math by figuring out how to do baseball ERAs. That's the only thing I learned about math. So,
yeah, I know how to figure those too. That's really how I learned how to do finance as well, looking at baseball cards and calculating it out. And but there's some of the things that you could do that are really pretty cool. So, for example, property acquisition. It's just really hard for a local government to acquire property because you can't typically do it quietly. When people see you doing it, they're like, okay, what's going on here? And it drives the price up. I mean, I remember when I worked for the city of Springfield. You probably remember this. The Mercy Hospital was acquiring a bunch of property downtown to do a new regional campus, and the Turner Foundation was actually the straw purchaser for those properties. And they were very quietly going in and buying it, because if people heard the city were buying it, and then I had people who came to me that bought properties for $3,500 and were asking $35,000 for them. So I mean, stuff like that, it really does happen. So it allows you to be a little bit more aggressive and quick on your property acquisitions. Like I was saying about putting money into a private capital stack, 2 of the projects that I work for in Hamilton were to start a brewery and to outfit a kitchen. I mean, and the kitchens, I mean, that's why the SBA finances those. They're very difficult to finance. The restaurateurs usually are very good at having a dream and a little bit more challenged to be business people. But it was great to be able to go in and help this. And this is what this is about, is just bringing amenities to the community that potentially maybe couldn't come there on their own or organically. And then the other one was the brewery, where the CIC went in and purchased the equipment for the brewery and then did a lease to the operator. I mean, if the city is coming out and say, hey, we're going to get into the brewery business, politically that's probably going to get some pushback maybe.
I would vote for any city official that says they want to start a brewery. That just locks in my vote.
Well, and stop and think about it. This is a time in Hamilton where they were the first ones dipping their toe in the water. Right. I mean, and you're going to a bank to get that underwritten. That's hard. That's hard. I mean, and that's what the city wanted to do. This is all about. I think of it as an orchestra that's different sections of the orchestra. This is just a different tool in that orchestra that says, I'm going to put this money in here because we're trying to get downtown development here. And that brewery really was catalytic and just a small thing. But when you go in there and you say, I don't know anybody in here, well, that's great. That's what we're trying to do, is draw new people into the community. And I think that those things are just so hard for a city to do effectively, because that's not really what they were designed for. And one of the things I think you have to look at is the lawmakers in Columbus, whether you agree with them or not, they created all these little tools. And you're thinking, I think we have to get each one of these tools activated. And we may not use it. We may not always need it, but I've been in deals where you absolutely needed that tool and you had to go and create it, and it just added years to the development process. So I think
if you didn't lose a deal. Yep.
No, we're trying to get the groundwork laid now, knowing that at some point in time you may have to do this for the craziest of reasons, to preserve historic tax credits, to have a for-profit entity of the CIC pour money into a historic redevelopment that doesn't reduce your qualifying rehabilitative expenses, that reduces your tax credits by 30%. So all of these things work in conjunction with each other and are all part of the capital stack, and it just makes it a more attractive place to do development work.
Right. And just for clarification with the CIC, so Tom's example wasn't that the city was running a brewery. It was just actually supporting the person who wanted to start a brewery or expand it. It is really, again, helping support starting home with our community, our citizens, and the businesses that are here. How can we help keep them here, help them grow here, and expand here?
I know one of the things I hear developers talk about all the time, and it kind of came up in the last couple of weeks involving the municipal parking lot, when Park National Bank was going to basically donate its building on the square to the CIC. And I've heard the expression many times. It's called site control. What can a CIC do with a site or a building or a property that maybe wouldn't be available if it was still privately owned or if a government entity owned it?
I'll kind of start, then hand it over to Tom. So you can help direct development. So if you've got site control, a building is donated to you, whatever the situation looks like, or land is donated to you. If you've defined these are your targeted industries, or this is what your strategic action plan is for the community, you can ensure that happens versus a real estate speculator from 5 states away who wants to come in, buy the property, sit on it, and then watch cobwebs grow on it until a time which they deem fit, or they pass away, and then the property goes into somebody else's hand for another 5 to 10 years. So site control is extremely critical. The team's been saying that long before I've been here. We've got excellent elected leadership in place with all of our communities right now. It's really the time for us to, and we are making a lot of forward progress in that arena, but again, that's why site control is really important. So Tom, you've probably had experiences within Hamilton about properties being donated different.
Yeah, I'm almost having
utilizing
PTSD when you said that there's a somebody that's buying this property from 7 states away and hasn't even seen it. I remember where the Well House Hotel is in downtown Hamilton. There was somebody who did a 1031 property exchange that lived in California, and she basically had a condo that she made money on in California, and she needed to park the money or pay taxes on. So she bought this apartment building that just really had substandard housing in it. So site control, the city's trying to figure out how to get site control on this because it was a problem property. Beautiful property. And trying to get site control for it, it was hard for them to buy it, and it would even be harder for them to dispose of it because they had rules that you had to do a request for a proposal to an appraisal, and you had to sell it to the highest bidder.
Right.
Whereas the CIC could go in and buy the property, and then they could work with a developer of their choice. They don't have to go through the same property disposal process. And what it did is it allowed that site control to build the capital stack, to work with a developer that we have already worked with, that the city already knew was a known entity, and it got redeveloped into a really nice hotel. So, I mean, that property disposal piece, and I've even seen situations where the school districts are beholden to the same sort of restrictions, that they'll give it to the city because they are allowed to do that, and then they'll go ahead and donate it to the CIC and then try to work that back through some other TIF or some sort of repayment schedule. So, I mean, everybody, I'm telling you, there's just so many powerful tools if you get everybody on the same page with this stuff that you otherwise just would never have.
And if anybody wonders what lack of local site control looks like, I encourage you to drive along the Miracle Mile, go toward Ontario, and glance to your left at the West Park Shopping Center, which is about at this point, it's an oxymoron because it's no longer anything approaching a shopping center. And I will say this till my dying breath, the folks who run Namdar Realty out of New Jersey, I wish I could get them in this room because I'd make them live in that pile of crap that they've let exist along Park Avenue West for years. Don't intend to do anything with it. I know they're trying to sell it, and we have a local realtor now trying to sell it on their behalf. But that's what happens when you don't have site control. You have a company like this New Jersey-based Namdar, which does this all over the country, buys buildings and just lets them deteriorate. I still can't figure out how they make money off of that, but that's probably because I'm not a finance guy. I don't know how you make money off buying a property and let it rot.
Yeah, it's almost like they hold small communities for ransom.
Right.
They hold up development. I'm not saying that specific company or real estate firm, but I definitely would like to encourage them. We have wonderful community members who are very conscientious, very interested in not only, being grateful for the progress that we've had, but even continuing to move the needle. And if you know of people that want to donate properties, the CIC for that real estate group, right? They, maybe somebody out there has connections to the group that owns it, and donating that to the city to help find the best buyer for the land, or it doesn't have to be that piece of property, but any of these properties. There is the opportunity to donate property. Sometimes we find that building owners get in over their head with expenses and whatever the issues are. So just want to encourage, if anybody's out there with properties that, for whatever reason they know of real estate firms outside of the area have purchased things, there is an avenue to gain back some of that site control.
Carl, if I may, if people want to see a positive local example of what local site control would look like, you could go to downtown Shelby, where significant acreage with the Blackfort Commons and all that area is property of Shelby CIC. I don't want to diminish all the other people who helped make that possible, but still, that's significant acreage in a downtown area that...
And acreage in a floodplain.
Well, yes.
I mean, that made it even tougher to think about what to do with it.
Right. But if it, who knows what that could be of that area right now if it wasn't owned locally.
Yeah, such a huge transformative project, and Shelby is just, it's always been a great community, and it's even taking off more now. The Shelby Foundation, the Shelby CIC, the city of Shelby, all working in tandem together are doing great things, and that's a perfect example of how all those tools in place can really help catalyze additional development.
Okay, we've got a port authority. Mansfield now has a CIC. What else do we need to get in terms of tools for our toolkit that people can look forward to?
Well, I mean, in my mind, the hardest part of this is consensus. I mean, these are all new, and understanding how they work together, I think, is the hardest part. I think site control is the most important thing. But there's a lot of new tools that feel kind of scary if you haven't used them before. You know, I came from an environment in Hamilton. I remember I talked them into selling their city hall building to a community authority, and that was a tough one. But at some point in time, you just have to say, am I committed to this project? And if the answer is yes, here's what you need to do to make it work. I mean, there as a community authority is another one that we're looking at, but they all work in conjunction with each other. I mean, you'll have an unbelievably complex capital stack when you put some of these bigger projects together, and it feels intimidating. And you know, I think one of the things that I've always prided myself in is teaching finance to the least sophisticated consumer, because that's usually me.
That's what you're doing with us today.
Yes.
Well, I mean, I have to understand it inside and out, because I'm going to have to explain it to elected officials who have varying levels of
Experience with
it. Experience in it. And I think that knowing what the risk is, and I think that that's one of the things the CIC or the Port Authority or the Community Authority can do, is it can take that risk off of the balance sheets of the communities and put it onto those balance sheets that make the elected officials feel like they're being good fiduciaries of the taxpayer money.
Well, that's one of the questions, and I realize that we're going to run out of time here in a few minutes, but I did want to ask, when it goes to the Port Authority or the CIC, what are the taxpayer risks if there's a deal? Say the Port Authority does a deal and it's $25 million. I mean, this is not liability for the taxpayer, right?
No, we're actually working on a deal on a project in Richland County that's going to need borrowing for infrastructure for water and sewer extensions. And that's kind of what the joy of it is that the communities get this done without having to take on the risk. And you know, the only risk they would have is that the villages or the city would have to pledge the revenues from that project, either from a community authority or a TIF, to another port to back the debt. So this particular one is we've talked to the Warren County Port Authority, and as these port authorities mature, the fees that they get for help facilitate these allows them to do stuff like create their own bond fund. Well, obviously the Richland County Port Authority just formed a few months ago. Right. They don't have the ability to do that, but other counties do. But that's one of the benefits of being able to get this done, is it allows that risk to be taken, what they call off the balance sheet, onto a port authority, and they're the ones that are backing the debt through the revenues from the underlying intergovernmental agreements between the Richland County entity and the one that issues the debt.
Now, Tom, what kind of tools in our toolkit would we need to bring a minor league baseball team to
That's
Mansfield?
my dream.
A minor league team.
Really? Is it?
It's
Let's make it happen.
Well, we had a minor league basketball team.
Yeah, no, in the old like the Westinghouse property on the north end, it'd be so cool. Is it really like a pipe dream, or do you really think it is like something that could happen?
well,
If it's up to Ellen, she's going to make it happen, because you two must be on the same page with this.
I think we are.
Breaking news.
No. I love the idea. From my hometown in Saginaw, Michigan, and Midland has a team, and East Lansing has a team, and I've visited some of those games recently. It's a great community builder, a lot of activity, a lot of revenues generated from those events, and it's a wonderful way for communities and businesses too to take their employees out for fun events. So I'm not sure about that. We are going to have a game to take a trip to the Guardians game for chamber members next year. Everybody, it's just going to pay their own way, but really looking for additional ways that we can help build the great resources we have. I do love that idea personally, but it is not endorsed by my board or anybody who knows me.
That's all right.
I just love love baseball.
I love that you love the
baseball.
idea. So that's something.
Don't take them to a Guardians game. Go to a Lake Erie Captains game. That's the
Lake
Class
County,
A, Lake County. Yeah.
We're looking at that, maybe Columbus Crew too, but just providing an opportunity where we could get a block of seats and people could show up or take a vehicle together. But we are definitely scrubbing every possible idea to help generate additional interest and activity here. A lot of people have been working for many, many years. We have wonderful community leaders, foundations, and as I mentioned earlier, our cities, we've got exceptional cities, community members, leaders, not only as the mayors, but city council members as well in Ontario, Belleville, Mansfield, Shelby, and at the county level and all of our villages too, and the township trustees. We have a wonderful region. And I think one of the points I always like to drive home, especially after working in a job that covered the entire state, is it is all up to us as a community. We are the only ones that are going to limit us or going to catalyze further development. So when it comes to solutions, we've got to find those. We can definitely do benchmarking. We've been doing a lot of benchmarking and best practice analysis, but it takes all of us together to work cohesively and collaboratively to continue to build on the great resources we have.
Now, both of you work in a business, and you both chose it, so I'm not going to let you off the hook for that. But it's such a long game. Economic development there's so many people in this town, and I've been here for 35, going on 36 years, who are negative about everything. There's no business, there's no jobs, there's no businesses, everything's bad. They sit we talk about this on the show all the time. They sit in their parents' basement in their underwear eating Cheetos, tapping away on Facebook. But the field you guys chose to work in is such a long game. You've got to think a month down the road, 6 months, a year, 2 years, because this stuff doesn't happen overnight. How difficult is it as a profession to be working in something where you don't get to see immediate benefit, immediate gain, and you're asking a somewhat reluctant community sometimes to be patient, it's coming?
I think if you keep your eyes open, the earphone things aren't working.
It'll short out on you.
It'll short out. Okay.
Yeah, you can take them off if that's bothering you.
Good,
just
thanks.
take them off. Just pull that mic up a little bit closer to your mouth.
Gotcha. Thanks. I think that if you look closely enough, you can see movement all along the way. But definitely, there are times where you work weeks and days and months and sometimes years on some projects, but there are other projects that will come out of the blue, and you have to be ready in a moment's notice and super responsive. And I've worked on all kinds of both types of those projects, and you just have to be 150% there every day, and you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable. You've got to push it because you know that it's the community and the stakeholders that you're working for. To your point about manufacturing, we actually have a vibrant manufacturing region. In fact, we were going to have the SBA regional administrator come in on October 1 to kick off Manufacturing Month, but obviously they're on shutdown right now. But we actually have a substantial amount of manufacturing that is second to none in this region along the airport, but in some of the other communities too. So anyway, Tom, I don't know, going back to Carl's question, if you want to share anything, you've definitely had a long and exceptional career in this area.
That's the nicest way anybody's ever told me I'm old, Alan. Thank you.
Carl was saying that for both of us.
No,
So, I think
I'm saying I'm old, and I am, but
Hey,
that's okay.
I think that's typical.
I
I
appreciate
remember we were working on a Spooky Nook sports complex down in Hamilton, and our city manager took us down to Chattanooga, where they had the largest freshwater aquarium in the United States, and talked to their city leaders that were using a similar model to what we're talking about here this morning to do economic development down there. And and the largest critics are always your own residents, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
I mean, I drive here every other Monday from Cincinnati. I live in the Cincinnati area and stay up here for a week. And there's not a week that I don't come up here and look at these buildings and say, these are some awesome buildings. I mean, there's just not anything like this in the state of Ohio that has been this well preserved. And I mean, I think you were talking about site control earlier, but I mean, hats off to the Ferniacs for the stuff that they've done in downtown Mansfield to keep these buildings upright and good roofs on them, and you're presentable from the streets, because I can't tell you how many buildings in Springfield and Hamilton that you'll see these historic pictures like, that's an awesome town. Where is that at? It's like, that's your town. We tore that down to make room for the new Elder Bierman building.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's stuff like that it's rewarding, but it's also expected, and that's what I'm saying about consensus building. You really have to get people to buy in and understand what you're trying to get done within these communities and get support with it. And the first one's always the hardest. The first project is always the hardest one to get liftoff for. And after that, and when people say, hey, this really does work, this really does make our community better, that's when you start getting buy-in and people get on board a little faster. And quite frankly, that's when you need to be a little bit more focused and not get, cocky about what you're getting done and saying, does this still make sense for the community?
Right. Well, folks, we are going to have to wrap up today's show on that note. The witching hour is at hand. Many thanks to Ellen Heinz and Tom Vanderhorst for joining us. We all know a lot more now about the Richland County Port Authority. We know where the port is, and the Mansfield CIC, and we now know what CIC is an acronym for. So thanks to both of you for being with us today and for putting up with my questions.
Yep. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. And again, thanks so much to the community members, the citizens, the leaders, the business owners for all making this such a great community over the many years. And here's to an excellent next 5 years to come.
Very good. And for now, thanks again to all of you for listening to the Newsman Weekly. I'll be back in a second to put a bow on this week's show. But until then, remember what author Mark Twain once said: if you tell the truth, you don't have to remember anything.